They might even separate. Nice
elbow.
elbow.
Right hand.
He runs up.
Outside calf kick. Left hook, right hand. For Tom Mullen.
But right now.
Front kick, right hand over the top. Oh, left hand behind the head. That is it.
I think that's it.
There's the tap.
That's all she wrote right there.
Top. More knees from Connor.
To the knee.
He's down.
The knee. The
He's on
elbow.
top. It's over. A first round finish for Callum Connor. Make it 4 in a row now for this man.
Connor, the fly catcher. Wow!
He can't find his tapping. First round submission.
Incredible.
For Connor.
Whoa. Black shorts for the returning Emil Vujokovic. Fantastic matchup. Here we go. Two long kickboxers. Already the leg inside kick looked for by Da Costa. Emil showing the fake left eye kick already. And he's jumped on.
Immediately.
That's
it. There we go. Second round submission from Emil Vujokovic.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Full Contact Contender breakdown show ahead of FCC 38. We are going back to Liverpool. We have a 10-fight pro main card coming at you. It's going to be a fantastic night of action as always. My name is Alex Richings, aka Bailey, and I'm joined by Mr. Jason Hartley here. Jason, we've got another 10-fight card. Nothing but bangers throughout. We're going to break it all down, introduce the fighters to people if they don't know about them. But how are you feeling about number 38?
Oh yeah, outstanding. Like you said, 10 fights on the main card. This has to be one of the biggest pro cards FCC has ever put together, with a bunch of prospects, a lot of names that you'll recognize, and some new ones that we're really excited about turning pro. So great card coming up.
Okay.
Looking forward to
this is also I was going to say celebrate number 10, but I think this is number 11 FCC for me as well. So you must be coming up on 10 shows as well soon enough.
Yeah, I think 6 or 7, something like that. Yeah.
Actually, it is number 10 because I missed one. So this is my 10th show, so I'm excited. Yeah.
Hey, here
All
we
right.
go.
Well, let's start at the bottom of the card. So the beginning of our main card, we have fantastic fights all throughout, but we have a guy making his pro debut, and Mateusz Erkau, 0-0, coming from that Ronin MMA team where we know obviously Joe Silk Cummings has been a big part of FCC. This guy's looked incredible throughout his amateur career. Now as a pro, what do you expect from this man?
Yeah, well, he's basically vacated his 145-pound title to turn pro. So this is somebody as a debutant. So you see 0-0, it's not really telling the whole story, but he's got a wealth of experience, really well-rounded. He's one of these fighters that has showed out time and time again, has a great top game, great submissions, and he's had some really great decisions. So he's had some great cage time. So experience is the key, despite looking at 2 O's on his record.
Yeah, obviously from Poland, but has really made a home here in the UK and has fought at a ton of UK regional shows, fought a bunch of the guys at amateur, the high-level guys, and you mentioned the submissions, but he's also got really good movement, a lovely jab, can play with the pace of the fight, and I think he's going to show up and put on another great performance. Of course, he's got a guy coming over from Spain, a guy that we have had at FCC before in Hakeem Al-Shubrim, 0-2, but still a tough opponent.
Yeah, I mean, this is somebody that's been in there with the literal best in the entire country. He's fought guys like Curtis Campbell, didn't necessarily go his way, but he showed a lot of grit, a lot of heart, a lot of toughness in those fights. And so it's one of these things coming in here, you're seeing a lot of experience on either side, and it'll be really interesting to see how these two clash. Looking forward to the fight.
Yeah, should be a great way to get us started on the main card. After that, of course, we have the return of Billy Adams, one of the most action-packed fighters that we've ever seen at FCC. I love the way he fights. He's got a great opponent in Asis Clementino as well. But let's talk about Billy first, all right? 0-0, now going pro, was 4-0 as an amateur. I always liken him to Conor McGregor. Very aggressive guy, but he's a hell of a fun fighter to watch.
Yeah, I was telling you this before we actually started recording, that I was watching the fight without commentary on because I was listening to an interview of one of the fighters. We got some great stuff. Head over to our OnlyFans, by the way. It is totally free to subscribe and watch those interviews. Some really great content there. And I was listening to Summer Only, which we'll talk about later. But I was watching the Billy Adams fight and I made the same observation subconsciously.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's got this karate style stance. And it's like, oh yeah, of course. I remember it was all starting to come back to me. An incredible, incredible performance in his last fight. Unfortunately, missed weight in that last fight, but is essentially the last champion that we've had in our amateur ranks at 155 pounds. Absolutely stellar stand-up skills.
Yeah, he's a really big guy as well. So, but that last fight, you mentioned it was crazy that his opponent was able to withstand some of the shots that Billy Adams was landing. So definitely look forward to this one. Acis Clementino, his opponent, he's had a bit of experience at the pro level now, 3 fights, 1 and 2. Obviously, the last time we saw him was when he came at FCC 37, just gone to fight Malachi Edwards.
Yeah.
Didn't work out for him that night, but he did show a bit of his toughness, and he does have a sneaky jiu-jitsu game that he should be able to bring against Billy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's one of these guys that has submission wins on his record. His last win was a round 2 guillotine. And since then, he's fought guys like Malachi Edwards. But again, this is what we're talking about, especially in these early stages of a fighter's career, how important that experience is. And fighting some tough guys like that, he probably feels pretty good coming in here knowing that he's had the best in the country thrown at him. Really excited about his style. And we've talked about these strong gym fighters. They are outstanding. They really bring it. Yep. And there's no way you're not going to watch this and not see an exciting fight.
100%. Yeah, these two are going to go backwards and forwards. It should be a really good fight. After that, we have, the pro debut of another sort of superstar. FCC have brought a lot of these top girls in from around Europe, really, who are set to go on and do great things. We saw Chanel Dyer's pro debut. We saw Sammy Jo Luxton come through recently, and we've got another contender for that title of hottest female prospect coming out of the UK in summer only, who is 0-0, making her debut, but just ran through everybody and ended up with the IMAFs, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely a submission machine. The way she can take down girls and just totally control them and pretty much go through the competition like it's nothing. The only time she has lost is really deep into the IMAFs. I mean, she is an outstanding talent, and I think that's kind of the interesting crossover. She's fighting, of course, Victoria Wojciechowska, and she also has a ground game there. So this could turn into one of those kind of fights. We've seen it with the Colby Covingtons and Usmans, where they end up standing and fighting that way. Who knows how it's going to go there, but I'd be really interested to see these two clash on the ground, because that's where their real strengths are, and then also where, you see a little less of them. And they'll get to show off a bit more of that in this fight, hopefully, what they look like on the field. Yeah,
I mean, Victoria, she's coming in as the unknown girl, taking on someone who's very hyped, but you have the opportunity to steal the show in that situation. And you mentioned her ground game, it should be interesting, but she has done some kickboxing as well. So we'll see if she tests Summer in that way as well.
And make no mistake, watching her fights back in Poland, I mean, she's got so much support there. I mean, she is a star in the making coming from there. You watch it, I mean, the crowd is chanting her name the whole time. She's got so much fan support back home. So this would be a really interesting one. 2 prospects from 2 different countries, real worldwide talent here.
Yeah, making the trip over. I like it. After that, we'll be moving to 145. Okay, we have the return of someone that people around the country know and love. He's competed, for a number of years. Carl Killshot Fletcher, representing the SBG team, coming in as a 1 and 2 pro now, had a bit of a rough start to the pro career, but has fought top guys, and he's taken on Steph Murray, who is 1-0 now as a pro, but also at the amateur level for kind of similar levels of opponents, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, they share an opponent with Curtis Campbell, so that's really interesting. I mean, you're talking about guys that have gone through the ranks and fought the toughest guys, but they both have submissions. There are a lot of differences between the two, but of course, Killshot Fletcher, I mean, he's named that for a reason. So I think we're going to see that contrast there. We know he's good on the ground. We know Steph has skills on the feet. But if you were to guess, you're probably going to see that opposition of one maybe going for the takedown a little bit more, the other going for that knockout blow. Killshot living up to the name, but he might show some submissions like he has in the past.
Yeah, Carl obviously hits very hard, and that kind of adds to sort of the entertainment when you're watching the guy. You never really know when it could be over, and they have got losses, but when you get losses against those caliber of opponents, it really gives you an idea of where you sit and what you need to improve on and how much better you need to get. Both these guys have been there. They are both pro now, early in their careers, so they're going to come hungry, and it should be a great fight at 145, I think. After that, we're moving up to 155. We have the arrival, let's say, of someone who everyone has been talking about on the regional scene, the 9-0 amateur, now 2-0 pro, Will Haycox, another person representing Ronin MMA, taking on Ryan Lockyer. What a fantastic fight this is, Jason, as well. 2 undefeated pro guys willing to go head-to-head after insanely, like, you know, veteran amateur career and then accomplished amateur career going head to head as pros.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to talk about a depth of experience before they've even got to this stage. So again, this is the kind of thing, FCC, the one thing that they're extremely good at, and it's really the UK as a whole, is bringing up these talents on the amateur scene on a level that, you know, being from Tennessee in the States, you don't see that much. Usually people tend to go pro a little bit quicker. So by the time you're seeing these guys getting their debuts or early on, they are really, really experienced. And of course, we got a 2-0 versus 1-0, you know, kind of difference here, but they have so many more fights before that. And you're really going to see these two lock up and put that experience to the test.
Yeah, I mean, like Will Haycox, if you've never seen him fight, he's another guy who kind of has adopted the McGregor style of movement, and he's very twitchy in the way he moves, and he'll stop and change timing, and then that makes him very hard to read. He's very light on his feet, but his ground game is also really high level. And like we said, 9-0 as an amateur, now 2-0 as a pro. I mean, this guy could keep winning, and he's probably someone you want to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, and you want to talk about the, you know, the streak that we're seeing right now from Ryan Lockyer. He is actually coming off like several, before he finished his amateur career, several rear naked chokes. What was it, like 3 or 4 in a row? Like something ridiculous like that. So you were talking about the submission game. Let's see how these two clash together. It's going to be really fun to watch. Yeah, man. I mean, the submission came for Will in the 3rd round of a very tough fight in his pro debut, but still finished with a submission. So even if this fight goes long, who knows how it's going to end. So I love it. And that speaks to the experience of both guys. Great matchmaking. You love it. All right, moving on. At 125, we have our former amateur champion, the guy who held the belt, looked incredible, the fly catcher, Connor Walsh, coming in 1-0 right now as a pro. Coming for a second pro fight. We saw him make a fantastic debut, ticked all the boxes, had a flawless performance, really. He's got a very interesting opponent, slightly unknown, but when we see these unknown guys come in, there's always questions to be answered. We're going to see some questions, but Johannata Vasconcelos is the opponent at 2-0. Jason, what do you make of this guy? Yeah, I mean, he's such a tall and lanky guy, and classically, Connor is a bit shorter than a lot of the guys there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he handles this guy who usually uses his range and likes to bounce in and out and stay on the outside. It's going to be really interesting to see how Walsh deals with that. But that's the thing. You know, you want to talk about Curtis Campbell. Well, this is his famous training partner. This is probably the biggest prospect, aside from Curtis Campbell, who's, you know, kind of come out of this region in a long time. And his pro debut, we just saw it on our last show, fantastic showing. I mean, he is just one of those guys. He is incredible everywhere the fight goes. I mean, watching some of those title fights, knocking people down in the 5th round, he has a gas tank that goes on forever. So it's a really interesting challenge to see how he can do against a much bigger guy, much rangier, longer guy, and how he deals with that. Because, I mean, we've seen this guy shook off takedowns. We've seen him do some amazing things in Johannata Vasconcelos. Yeah, Johannata's like a tricky guy to deal with. Like, when he gets on his back, even if Connor takes him down, he's got very good grips, very good sweeps. He could cause Connor some problems there. And we saw Connor fight Ethan Riddler a few FCCs ago, and that was a bigger, taller guy, and he got through him okay. But when Connor went up to 135 to challenge for a second belt against a bigger guy, he did struggle a little bit. He wasn't able to get the win. We have seen Connor fight bigger guys and have problems, but at the same time, Connor has fantastic kicks, a really good distance game, so I expect him to bring that to play, and hopefully we should see the very best of Connor Walsh on Saturday night. I'm very excited to see how he continues his career. Yeah, keep your eye out on this one. I mean, we're looking at literally one of the brightest stars in the entire country with Connor Walsh, and Johannata is one of those really exciting fighters coming over and flying over from Brazil. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, style clash. Can't wait for it. That's a good promo for that kid right there. All right, let's move to a guy that we've been talking about for a long time. How could you not? Emil Vujokovic. I mean, he is such a powerhouse. Guys, 3-0 now, rear naked choke round 2. The last time we saw him at FCC 37. We love everything this guy has done. He's got such an incredible story, but let's talk about his opponent as well. Vinicius Sampaio, 3-3, the more experienced guy as a pro. Both guys are so dangerous, Jason. This is a middleweight fight, so you're going to have two giant men probably just slamming punches and kicks into each other. Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a totally kind of I don't know, new challenge for somebody like Emil, who we know really well on this scene. But this is somebody who likes to throw all kinds of crazy techniques in Vinicius Sampaio. He likes to throw spinning back kicks. He likes to throw, big leaping, jumping hooks. He likes to really get in your face and make a fight. And of course, Emil, that's the thing. You're running into a Titan. He's a big middleweight.
A brick wall, a tank, whatever you want to call him. And part of it is the strength and conditioning program that he operates under. His Instagram name is like Emil Conditioning or whatever, because it's like, it's part of what he does. He's huge for the weight class, always in good shape. You see him all around the UK scenes at different shows with the training partners, the people he's embedded in MMA culture. And, the first fight I called of his back FCC 27, 28, I think it was, he was just coming back after some time off because of the battle with cancer.
Yes.
He overcame that, won the amateur title, went pro, and is now 3-0, Jason. So this guy's story has just built and built and built, and it's continuing to build. A win on Saturday, that only takes him a step further, maybe towards a professional title.
Yeah, the experience at this stage as a pro, he's got plenty of experience in the amateurs. He's been a champion at middleweight there, and he's already hunting for that middleweight title. He's let Hader Khan know if he wins, we've trained together, but I might be fighting you soon. And he is scary. He's a big guy. He's made all the case in the world to say he's 1 or 2 fights away. We could realistically at 4-0 see him challenge for the title next. He might want to take another fight before that, but this is somebody that is absolutely a title prospect. But Vinicius Sampaio has a lot to say about that. He's coming in here with some intensity, a really fun style, and man, this clash up, you want to talk about a fight that has fight of the night intentions written all over it. This is probably, at least so far, my number one pick for that.
I could see that happening, especially if Emil ends up head kicking somebody, or Vinicius could also head kick him back. That's why it's quite a fun fight, right?
Vinicius, believe me, will be throwing some bombs. So yeah, you're going to see that, and believe me, Emil will be throwing some bombs. This is guaranteed fireworks, 100%.
All right, moving on through the night towards the end of the evening, we have the return of Callum Connor, the Manchester top team prospect, 4-0. A guy, one of the only guys I can look at and say he's pretty much looked perfect so far in his pro career. He's getting an experienced guy who has also fought people who are have been at the level that Connor is now at, in Everton Cruz, Ninja Cruz, 4-1, coming over from Brazil as well. So it's a really interesting matchup here at 155 as well. Jason, what do you make of this one?
Man, I'm going to sound like a broken record talking about the best prospects in the country, but this is another
This
guy.
is FCC. We have the best prospects in the country, right?
And that's the point. Yeah, like this card is that good, and you see how they stack it with the talent from the best around the world. Obviously from Brazil, we've seen some from Poland. We got people coming from all over, and you've got Callum Connor. This dude has looked fantastic, and he said a lot going into this fight. We've caught up with him on some interviews. Again, check out our OnlyFans if you want to see some more there. It is free to subscribe, nothing to pay there. But yeah, he said he respects Everton. He spoke to his durability. He's seen some of his fights. He's seen that he's a great fighter, but he won't be showing those skills on Saturday night. He feels he's going to overpower him and take control. He's looking for that finish. And this is one of those guys. Callum is kind of the total package.
Yeah, 100%.
He's not somebody that just goes out there and fights and puts on a great performance, and he can do it anywhere the fight goes, but he also likes to talk a little bit. He likes to make it entertaining, likes to make it fun, and that's what makes him kind of that, you always talk about that unicorn recipe.
Right, yeah.
You have those different elements of somebody that's exciting, brings drama to the cage, and puts on outstanding performances. But Everton Cruz at 4-1, he's looked virtually flawless up until recently, and he's just one of those great BJJ black belts that's coming over and is really going to have something to say here.
Yeah, you talked to me about his no-gi tournament wins that he's been going on. The jiu-jitsu is a real threat in this one for a guy like Callum Connor, who, if he can win on the feet, it stays on the feet, but we have seen his grappling as well be excellent. So it's really going to get tested in this fight, I feel like. You mentioned Cruz's loss. His only loss was to Connor Hughes, a guy who is still undefeated and is now in the PFL. So he's fought these kind of guys from the UK who have pushed through as undefeated fighters, and he's tested them. When I think about Callum Connor, he looks like a fighter that's been fighting for 10, 15 years. And I feel like that's a testament to, like, you know, where MMA is at, you know, where it's come, that these young kids now look like fighters who've been doing it all their lives. And Callum Connor is a perfect example of that.
Perfect.
As a young kid. And he only started in 2021. It reminds me of Ian Gary, who only started like a couple of years ago and is now the top of the UFC. Like, it doesn't take long for some of these guys that move really quickly. And this is what Callum Connor is doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is somebody that was doing, you know, Thai boxing for 9 years before he ever got into MMA. I mean, this is one of those guys that has been pretty much born in bred to do this sport.
Yeah,
and it's
definitely.
like you said, that's how far it's coming along. You know, if you've ever seen the juniors that we put on at FCC, some of that stuff has gone viral because the talent is amazing. And this is somebody who's been doing it just as long, has been involved forever. And Everton Cruz, I mean, he's won some IBJJF regional championships in the no-gi competition. So he's really strong as well. I mean, this guy looks like he's made out of stone.
Yeah.
So this is a fun matchup, a really great test for either man. They're at similar levels in their career, similar stages in their careers. So it's a great clash at 155 pounds.
Yeah, and it's nice to see these young kids tested as well. We talk about these top prospects. It's good to see them tested against these tough opponents. That's what it's all about, okay?
That's right.
That is what it's all about. All right, Jason, moving on. It's time for the co-main event of the evening. We have the return of Tom Mullen, an absolute full contact contender veteran, spent a lot of shows with us now because he shows up and puts on great performances. Not that hard. He's taken on Otacílio Oliveira. Now, this is a guy who has way more experience than him, been fighting since 2015. So once again, we have the young, up-and-coming prospect who, to be fair, unlike some of these other prospects, has already taken that step to fight difficult challenges. And some he's won and some he's lost. But he is still here, 6-2 now as Tom Mullen. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, he's only 23 years old. I mean, this guy, the amount of experience, the kind of things that he's done is outstanding. And we just got done seeing him at the last FCC event, FCC 37, where he got a rear naked choke over Douglas Alves.
Yeah.
He shows so much well-roundedness, 100% finish rate before that, all in the first round. This one just barely made it to the second. So this is one of those fireworks guys. Again, I've talked about fight of the night contenders. This already has it written on it because you know Tom Mullen is going for the finish as soon as he possibly can.
100%, yeah.
Otacílio Oliveira, on the other hand, he has some WGP kickboxing experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got a lot to say about whatever happens on the feet against somebody, like I said, prior to his last rear naked choke in the second round was all first round finishes. So it might not even get the chance to be fight of the night because it might end so quickly with the way these guys are going to come at each other like a tornado. So yeah, it's a fantastic fight. I guess if I were to look at this one in terms of style, I think that Tom can get it done anywhere it goes.
Yeah.
But you got somebody who's got kickboxing experience on the world circuit. And then you've got somebody like Tom Mullen who loves both parts of the game, but he is coming off a rear naked choke. So if I were to guess, the most interesting place is definitely going to be on the feet, and hopefully we get to see these two clash there.
Yeah, I always say this about Tom. I really do think he works out where his opponent is weakest, and that's where he's going to take the fight. Like he's an MMA fighter, you know, take advantage of. And it would seem that if Oliveira had a weakness, it would be on the ground. You know, he had to deal with a lot of grappling in his first pro fight, and since then, really, and I know I've said, you know, Oliveira has been fighting since 2015. You know, he's got the Cena fight team. You know, Cena is his nickname. I'm pretty sure that's his own gym, Jason. Like, if he has a stable of students that look up to him, you know, that's a different kind of motivation. But back in 2015, Tom Mullen was still fighting as an amateur. He was taking guys like Liam McCracken he beat back in 2015. Obviously, Liam's just had a fantastic recovery from an accident. And, you know, that win has aged super well. So even though Tom's not been pro for that long and doesn't have the pro level experience, this amateur level experience against top guys will probably count for the same. But I agree. We'll see how it starts on the feet, see if Tom keeps it there, see if Oliveira shows us something we don't know. But eventually, I think Tom might try and take it down, look for the submission, but should be a great co-main event. Yeah,
if I had to bet, this one's not going to make it all 3 rounds. But now that I said that, it probably will, right? No, I really don't think this fight will make it to a decision. We're looking at a finish here, almost certainly.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's get to our main event, Jason, because the middleweight title is on the line. FCC Full Contact Contender 38. It's a great time to put a championship belt on somebody, and there's no one probably more deserving to be in that spot right now than Haider Khan, who has consistently put on fantastic performances at FCC, and his opponent, Luis Carlos Alves, a really dangerous Brazilian guy who's coming over to try and challenge him for that vacant title.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you want to talk about somebody, you know, we're here on UFC Fight Pass for a reason. You know, it's one of these great opportunities for fighters to get seen on the UFC's platform and make that transition into the UFC. You want to talk about somebody who is knocking on the door of a UFC opportunity. He's already talked about it. It's his goal to, you know, get on the Contender Series and fight for the UFC soon. This guy has only lost in a title fight in his entire record, and it's been a few years since that now. His last fight, I mean, we just saw, I mean, I was talking about Connor Walsh and how he puts on, Connor Walsh has put on probably the best fight I've seen in FCC, but the last fight with Hader Khan
was so good.
Holy crap, Robbie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Those two brought the house down. They absolutely put on a show. And Hader Khan, I mean, you know, if you were going into that fight, you were going to say that Hader Khan is, you know, more of a submission guy. But he rocked Robbie Kennedy early in the fight, too. That's when Robbie Kennedy is his most dangerous. And there were times where you thought Robbie was done. There were times where you thought Hader was done. Just incredible resilience, but he's shown his power on the feet. He's so tall. He's so lanky. Such a big guy. He's about 6'4".
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is another reason, you know, the UFC, you know, if you can put on a good performance, a guy like that is super interesting for them. At middleweight as well, a division that's not super stacked. But, you know, 2022, December, FCC 32, he fights for the middleweight title against Mick Stanton, and he doesn't get the win. That is the only loss on his pro record, and it was a tough fight. You know, he really had to go up against a veteran. The Hammer is a real vet, and he didn't come out on top. But since then, he has only looked better. And you talked about his last win being a war. The one that we called over in Manchester as well was a war. And he's getting into these kind of fights now, and he's winning. He's the guy that's coming out on top because of the wars he's been in previously. So he's got another chance to try and win the middleweight title tonight. You know he wants it strapped around his waist so he can knock on the door of the UFC. That's goddamn right. Let's talk about Alves, though, for a second, though, from the Dragon Fight team, because this guy is a very dangerous, experienced Muay Thai guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's one of these people that puts together really, really terrific striking combinations on the feet. He's coming off of a KO victory. He is one of these guys that is going to test, like, all right, so maybe you did well against Robbie Kennedy. I'm going to come in here and test that chin. That is exactly what he is looking to do. I think he's an outstanding talent. He's definitely a showman as well. If you've seen any of his fights, I mean, this guy loves to taunt his fighters in the cage. He loves to dance around the cage after the fight. I mean, he's a really, really fun fighter with a ton of personality, and I think you guys are going to see that. But most importantly, he brings the fight, loves to look for the finish, and he's got a ton of experience. 7-2 versus 7-1. This is a really even matchup on paper for a lot of reasons, and a fantastic title fight. Couldn't be more deserving. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like Alves really has kind of outgrown the Brazilian regional scene. Like, you talk about him being a showman, and also like his striking style, because he hits really hard. You know, he's been flooring guys. He's been making it look a bit too easy recently. So there isn't a better time for him to come over to the UK. And there is a reason he's getting a title shot. It's because he's a dangerous striker who brings the show. So it should be a fantastic matchup. I'm very excited for the main event, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's got boxing experience on top of that as well. Very, very explosive early on. Going back, Hader Khan has also said, quote, "I'm going to lay him out iced on the floor." So I think he's willing to play that game on the feet. It might end up on the ground. We all know that Hader Khan is very, very, very good there. Huge for the weight class. I mean, he can wrap you up like a spider, but I think he's interested in getting a very, very distinct finish on this card. Like we've talked about, knocking on the door of the UFC. He wants to make that statement, make himself undeniable, and I think Luis Carlos Alves is looking for the exact same thing. Again, it's another fight on the card that it's hard to imagine a decision occurring, because both these guys have already said that they're going for the finish. Fantastic title fight.
Yeah, and like you said, if Hader gets that strap around his waist, you know, you guys heard it here first about Hader Khan. You know, if he shows up at the Contender Series, then you know. You saw him in FCC, of course, so that's the route, the title. But there you go, guys. Full Contact Contender 38. It goes down June 8th at the Olympia in Liverpool. We're going to be live on UFC Fight Pass as well. You can come and join the action, of course. Head to the OnlyFans, the FCC OnlyFans, for those interviews Jason talked about, weigh-ins, access, as well as some of the early prelims as well. So don't forget to catch that stuff there. But Jason, thank you very much for breaking this down with me. I hope we got everyone at home super excited, because Full Contact Contender is coming back to Liverpool, and it puts on a show every single time. So we will see you there June 8th, Saturday, for one hell of a show.